This TFMR podcast is brought to you by your friends at JM Bullion. Visit jmbullion.com for all your gold and silver bullion needs. Welcome back to your TF Metals Report podcast highlights for the first week of June 2022. Just a reminder, a full daily podcast summary is just one of the benefits of being a member at TF Metals Report. I write up a summary every morning so you know what the latest news of the day is, and we take a look at where things are trading. But then at the end of the day, I record a podcast that summarizes all the events of the day and anything else that we need to keep an eye on as we go into the remainder of the business week. So if you like to read something or if you like to listen to something, we give you everything at TF Metals Report. It's only $15 a month or about 50 cents a day. If you subscribe, I think you'll find it's money well spent. Again, podcasts every single day, and these are just a very small fraction of what we discuss each day in those podcasts. This week, of course, was a holiday-shortened week with the U.S. markets closed on Monday, May the 30th for our Memorial Day observance. We began trading on Tuesday, May 31st, last day of the month of May, which we're glad to put behind us. And one of the things we looked at that day was the monthly chart, was to look at the long-term charts to get an idea of the general trend, and that was all part of what we discussed on Tuesday, May 31st. Gold on the monthly chart, I didn't put any lines on here, so you can decide for yourself what you see. A bit major cup between 2011 and 2021. A breakout, a little minor cup, that almost looked like it failed to break out 2 months ago. So we'll have to see. Again, I'll let you decide for yourself what you see on that one. Wednesday, June the 1st brought more lousy economic data for the U.S. Lately, all economic data points have pointed toward a slowing U.S. economy that's actually already in contraction. One of the things we like to watch closely at TF Metals Report is the Atlanta Fed GDP Now forecast. What they do down there is they take all of the incoming data and try to project ahead what the GDP will be for any certain quarter. It's a pretty reliable indicator, and with all of the recent data pointing lower, the Atlanta Fed now has the U.S. economy growing at just a 1.3% rate for the second quarter. Now you add that to a negative 1.5% rate in the first quarter, and for the first half of the year, you've got contraction. Ponder that as you think about the Fed just now beginning to hike rates. They're driving us toward a stagflationary recession that will have a major impact on precious metals prices as we go through the remainder of this year. Okay, so then there's our little buddy down in Atlanta that cranks out the GDP Now. Look what's happened to that over the last couple of weeks. Back just 2 weeks ago, he thought the second quarter was trending to be somewhere between 2 and 3%. Now, after all this latest crappy data, he's all the way down to just 1.3 and trending towards zero. I'll remind you, first quarter GDP is negative 1.5. So even if we come in at plus 1.3, aggregate the two together, first half of the year is a contraction, and the Fed is just getting started. Whoa. I'm telling you what, man, they are playing with fire and they know it. Our Thursday conversation this week on Thursday, June the 2nd, was what we call a special podcast where we interview a CEO of a company in the natural resource sector. Went a different direction this Thursday. I actually talked to a natural gas explorer and soon-to-be producer. Art Halloran is the CEO of Trillion Energy, a company uniquely positioned to help supply natural gas to a gas-starved Europe. You might check that out. It's a free podcast right on the TFMR homepage. I encourage you to give it a listen. Friday, June the 3rd, brought the latest BLS BS, as we call it, the latest jobs number, and it is full of BS. Oh, the headline number, 390,000, got all the financial media excited, but buried within that number are 209,000 make-believe jobs that come via the birth-death adjustment. What's the birth-death adjustment? That's the statistical guesswork of how many businesses were opened versus how many businesses were closed. in the month of May. And the BLS then just decides there's a net number of new jobs added. If new businesses in the past had been opened in May and more had been closed in May, it's just a joke. They also added 88,000 new jobs in the hospitality sector. So you back just that out. The guestwork jobs, the waitress and bartender jobs, and you get an actual jobs number of under 90,000. How about that? You won't see that reported anywhere. You also likely won't see report anywhere the first chart on this page, which is the latest weekly chart for crude oil. Continues to soar. As I speak on Friday morning, it's about $117 a barrel, ready to post its highest weekly close since 2008. This is putting tremendous pressure on fuel supplies, whether it's gasoline, diesel fuel, jet fuel, and it's not going to be ending anytime soon. So watch crude oil as it appears to be breaking out and sending energy prices even higher. One last chart is the weekly chart of COMEX gold. And I want to draw your attention to a couple of very important items on this chart. This goes back to 2018, the last time the Fed was trying to tighten and run off some balance sheet. 10-year note got up over 3%. The stock market crashed, and that led to the Powell pivot. Gold figured this out early, began to rally from around $12.50 all the way up into the 1300s, traded sideways until the Fed actually then began to cut rates in June of 2019. Notice then, as the curtain was pulled back and everybody revealed the Fed was full of crap, gold moved up by 50% from about $13.50 to $20.50. Is gold figuring this out now? Well, just like back in the fourth quarter of 2018, gold has moved up through its 50-week moving average again, actually using it as support this week. If this all plays out as I expect, the curtain will be pulled back once again in the months ahead. And a 50% rally from here, well, you can do the math. What would that do to your mining shares if it plays out that way again? All of these things to consider as we enter the first weekend of June. The next business week is going to be interesting. We get some inflation data, all sorts of other economic data points as we go into next week. So please be sure to keep an eye on the markets, and please be sure to check back next week for the next edition of your TF Metals Report podcast highlights. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great weekend.